The mining colony of New Haven sat on the edge of known space like a forgotten gem. Captain Jake Stone watched the red warning lights flash across his command center as another wave of attacks hit their shields. The alien raiders had been coming for 3 weeks now, each assault stronger than the last. "Sir, shield strength is down to 30%, reported his communications officer, Lisa Park. Her voice stayed calm, but Jake could see the fear in her eyes. Around them, the small defense team worked at their stations with quiet determination. The colony held 2,000 souls, miners, their families, and a handful of security personnel. They had sent distress signals across the galaxy, hoping someone would hear their call for help. But space was vast, and New Haven was far from any major trade routes. Jake stepped to the main view screen and watched the enemy ships circle like hungry wolves. The raiders were tall, gray-skinned beings who called themselves the Void Hunters. They traveled from system to system, taking what they wanted and leaving nothing behind. Their ships were sleek and black, designed for speed and destruction. "How long until the next attack?" Jake asked. "Sensors show they're regrouping." "Maybe 2 hours, sir," answered Tom Miller, their young radar operator. Jake nodded and walked to the colony's main hall. Families huddled together, children clinging to their parents. The miners had put down their tools and picked up whatever weapons they could find. Old hunting rifles, mining equipment turned into crude bombs, and the determination to protect their home. An elderly miner named Bill approached Jake. "Captain, my boys are ready to fight. We've rigged the mining charges to blow if those things try to land." "I know, Bill. You've all been brave. But I won't lie to you. Our chances aren't good." The old man's weathered face showed no fear. "We knew the risks when we came out here. This is our home now. We'll fight for it." Jake returned to the command center as another alarm sounded. The Void Hunters were moving again, their ships forming attack patterns. Lisa looked up from her console, with desperate hope. "Sir, I'm still broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. Maybe someone will hear us." "Keep trying," Jake said, though he knew their chances were slim. Earth was weeks away, and the nearest military base was even further. They were alone. The enemy ships began their approach, weapons charging with deadly light. Jake gripped his chair as the first shot struck their barriers. The shields flared and sparked, showing damage that couldn't be repaired quickly enough. 30 seconds to shield failure," Tom called out. Jake opened the colony-wide communication channel. "This is Captain Stone. All civilians to the underground shelters. Defense teams to your positions. Today we show these raiders what humans are made of." The view screen filled with enemy fire as the Void Hunters pressed their attack. Jake watched. Their last shield generator overload and explode in a shower of sparks. The colony's thin atmosphere couldn't stop the alien weapons for long, but the humans of New Haven didn't break. They fought back with everything they had. Mining lasers turned toward the sky, crude missiles launched from improvised platforms, and brave souls in maintenance suits worked to repair damage under enemy fire. Lisa's hands flew over her console, still sending their distress signal into the empty void of space. "Please," she whispered, "someone has to hear us." The battle raged through the day and into the night. The Void Hunters seemed surprised by the fierce resistance, but they kept coming. Their superior technology slowly wore down the human defenses as the dawn broke over New Haven. Jake stood in the smoking ruins of his command center. Half his team was wounded, their equipment was failing, and the enemy was preparing for what looked like their final assault. "Sir?" Lisa called weakly from her damaged station. "I'm picking up something strange on long-range sensors." Jake limped over to look at her screen. Far beyond the edge of the system, space itself seemed to be bending and twisting. Energy readings spiked beyond anything their sensors could measure. "What is it?" Jake asked. Lisa's voice filled with wonder as she read the impossible data. I think someone's coming through hyperspace. Multiple contacts, moving fast." The Void Hunters had noticed it too. Their ships pulled back from the colony, turning their weapons toward this new arrival. But whatever was coming was still too far away to help. Jake looked at his battered team and the ruins of their home. They had fought well, but it might not be enough. All they could do now was wait and see if help had finally come. or if New Haven would become another forgotten tragedy in the vast darkness of space. The sensors screamed as something massive tore through the fabric of reality itself, heading straight for their dying world. The space around New Haven erupted in brilliant flashes of light as reality itself seemed to tear apart. Jake Stone shielded his eyes as the main view screen automatically dimmed to protect them from the incredible energy discharge. "What the hell is that?" Tom Miller shouted over the alarms. Lisa Park's fingers danced across her console, trying to make sense of the readings. "Sir, these energy signatures, they're unlike anything in our databases. The mass readings are enormous." The Void Hunter ships had stopped their attack on the colony completely. Their sleek black vessels now hung in space like confused predators, all weapons trained on the growing disturbance at the edge of the system. Through the swirling vortex of twisted space-time, shapes began to emerge. At first they looked like shadows, but as they pushed through into normal space, their true size became clear. Jake felt his breath catch in his throat. "Those are warships," he whispered. The first vessel to fully emerge was a massive dreadnought, its hull painted in the blue and white colors of Earth's United Defense Force. Gun ports lined its sides like the teeth of some ancient sea monster, and its forward section bore the symbol Jake had thought he would never see again: the eagle and stars of humanity's homeworld. Behind it came more ships, cruisers, destroyers, and carrier vessels, each one larger than anything the Void Hunters possessed. The fleet moved with the coordinated precision of a military force that had seen real combat. "Lisa, can you get a communication link?" Jake asked, hardly daring to believe what he was seeing. "Working on it, sir. The interference from their jump is clearing up." The lead Void Hunter ship, a vessel twice the size of the others, began broadcasting on wide frequencies. The alien commander's voice filled with arrogance and threat. "Unknown vessels, you have entered a claimed hunting ground. Withdraw immediately, or face destruction." For a moment, space fell silent. Then a new voice cut through the communication channels, human, calm, and carrying the weight of absolute authority. "This is Admiral Marcus Webb of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have attacked human civilians under the protection of the United Nations Space Command. You have 30 seconds to withdraw from the system or face the consequences." Jake looked around, his damaged command center. His small team stared at the view screen in amazement. Earth had come for them. Somehow, against all odds, help had arrived. The Void Hunter commander's response crackled with anger. "Your species means nothing to us, humans. We take what we want. Your ships are outnumbered." Admiral Webb's reply came without hesitation. "You're not outnumbered. You're outgunned." The massive human dreadnought's weapon systems came online with a deep thrumming sound that Jake could feel in his bones even through the vacuum of space. Energy readings spiked as the ship's main batteries charged to full power. "This is your final warning," Admiral Webb continued. "Leave this system now." The Void Hunter commander made his choice. With a shriek of rage over the communication channel, he ordered his fleet to attack. The alien ships accelerated toward the human vessels, their weapons blazing with deadly intent. What happened next would be talked about in bars and spaceports across the galaxy for years to come. The human fleet didn't retreat or hesitate. They opened fire with a coordinated barrage that lit up the darkness of space like a new sun. Plasma cannons, railguns, and missile batteries unleashed their fury on the attacking raiders. The first Void Hunter ship to reach the human line simply vanished in a ball of superheated gas. Its shields hadn't even slowed the human weapons. The second ship lasted 3 seconds longer before its hull cracked like an egg and spilled its contents into space. "My God," breathed Tom Miller. "Look at them go." The human ships moved through, the enemy formation like sharks through a school of fish, their weapons fired with mechanical precision, each shot finding its target. The Void Hunter's superior speed meant nothing against humanity's superior firepower and tactics. Jake watched in amazement as the fleet that had terrorized his colony for weeks was systematically destroyed. The aliens' black ships burned and died, their hulls no match for weapons designed by a species that had learned warfare in the hardest school of all, against each other. In less than 10 minutes, It was over. The Void Hunter fleet was nothing but debris and fading energy signatures. The human warships hung in space like sleeping giants, their guns still glowing with residual heat. Admiral Webb's voice came over the communication channel again, but this time it was gentle and filled with concern. New Haven Colony. This is Admiral Webb, are you receiving us? Jake grabbed the microphone with shaking hands. Admiral, this is Captain Stone. We can't believe you're here. We got your distress call, Captain. Sorry it took us so long to arrive. Are your people safe? Captain Jake Stone felt tears streaming down his face as he gripped the communication device. After weeks of fighting alone, hearing Admiral Webb's voice felt like waking up from a nightmare. Admiral, we have wounded and our life support systems are damaged, but we're alive. All of us are alive because of you. That's what we're here for, Captain, Admiral Webb replied. We're sending medical teams and repair crews down immediately. How many civilians do you have? 2,000 souls, sir. Miners and their families, mostly. They fought like heroes. Through the main view screen, Jake watched as small ships detached from the human fleet. They moved toward New Haven with the efficiency of a well-trained rescue operation. The lead ship was a medical frigate painted with the Red Cross symbol of Earth's emergency services. Lisa Park looked up from her console with wonder in her eyes. Sir, they're scanning the colony. They know exactly where our wounded are located. Tom, Miller's voice cracked with emotion as he monitored the incoming vessels. Captain, they're bringing everything, medical supplies, food, repair equipment, even temporary housing units. The first shuttle touched down in New Haven's main landing bay 20 minutes later. The airlock hissed open and a team of medics rushed out, their equipment floating behind them on anti-gravity platforms. Leading them was a tall woman with silver hair and the steady hands of someone who had saved countless lives. I'm Dr. Helen Martinez, she announced to the gathered colonists. We're here to help. Where are your wounded? Bill, the old miner who had been ready to fight to the end, stepped forward with tears in his eyes. Doc, we got folks hurt pretty bad. Been doing what we can, but you did great, Dr. Martinez said firmly. Now let us take care of them. Jake watched as the Earth medical teams worked with incredible skill and compassion. They treated not just the physical wounds, but the fear and trauma that came from weeks of terror. Children who had been hiding in bunkers were given candy and small toys. Adults who had thought they would die far from home were told they were safe. More shuttles arrived every few minutes. Engineering teams began repairing the colony's damaged systems, while supply officers distributed food, water, and medicine. Everything was organized with military precision, but delivered with human kindness. Admiral Webb himself arrived on the fourth shuttle. He was a man in his 60s with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war, but his smile was genuine. As he met Jake in the colony's main hall, Captain Stone, it's an honor to meet you. Your defense of this colony has been reported all the way back to Earth. Command is very impressed. Jake shook his head. We just did what we had to do, Admiral. We couldn't let those raiders win. That's what makes you human, Admiral Webb said. That's why we came. The Admiral walked among the colonists, speaking with families and shaking hands with the miners who had turned themselves into soldiers. Every conversation was personal, every interaction, showing that Earth remembered its children, no matter how far they traveled. How did you get here so fast? Jake asked as they surveyed the repair work. Admiral Webb's expression grew serious. We've been tracking the Void Hunters for months. They've hit 17 colonies in this sector alone. When we received your distress call, we were already in hyperspace heading this way. 17 colonies? Jake felt sick. What happened to the others? Gone. All of them. You're the first colony to successfully hold out until we arrived. Your people's courage saved 2,000 lives. Jake looked around at his community, wounded but unbroken, scared but defiant. Children played between the repair crews while their parents helped with the work. The spirit that had carried them through the siege was still there, perhaps stronger than before. What happens now? Jake asked. That's up to you and your people, Admiral Webb replied. We can evacuate everyone back to safer systems if you want, or we can help you rebuild here. Earth is establishing a permanent naval base in this sector. You won't be alone anymore. That evening, Jake called a colony meeting in the main hall. 2,000 people gathered to hear their options. Some wanted to leave, to return to the safety of the inner worlds, but most chose to stay and rebuild. "This is our home," declared Bill, speaking for many others. "We're not running from it now." Admiral Webb nodded with approval. "Then we'll help you make it stronger. The Void Hunters won't be back, but if any other raiders try to threaten human colonies, they'll find us waiting." As the day ended, Jake stood on the observation deck and watched the Earth fleet maintaining its protective formation around New Haven. For the first time in weeks, he felt safe. Humanity had kept its promise. No one would be left behind in the darkness of space. The colony was saved, but this was just the beginning of something much larger. 3 days after the rescue, Admiral Webb stood in the newly repaired communication center of New Haven Colony. The room hummed with activity as technicians worked alongside Earth engineers to install new equipment that would keep the colony connected to the wider human network. "Admiral, we're ready to broadcast," announced Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim, his communications officer. She had arrived with the fleet and was now helping establish the permanent communication relay. Admiral Webb nodded and activated the colony-wide address system. His voice carried to every corner of New Haven, reaching the miners in their tunnels, the families in their homes, and the children in their schools. "People of New Haven, in a few minutes we're going to send a message back to Earth and every human colony in known space. Your story, what you did here, how you fought, how you survived, needs to be told." Jake Stone stood beside the Admiral, still wearing the simple uniform of a colony security captain. The past few days had changed him. The quiet determination that had carried him through the siege now seemed to radiate outward, inspiring everyone around him. "Captain Stone," Admiral Webb said, "would you like to tell Earth what happened here?" Jake took the microphone with steady hands. He looked around the room at Lisa Park, Tom Miller, Dr. Martinez, and the other faces that had become part of his extended family. Then he began to speak. "This is Captain Jake Stone of New Haven Colony. 3 weeks ago, we were attacked by raiders who thought we were easy prey. They thought wrong. The message was being recorded and transmitted across the galaxy through the quantum communication network. On Earth, in the halls of government and military command, people would soon hear the story of a small mining colony that refused to surrender. We're not soldiers," Jake continued. "We're miners, engineers, teachers, and shopkeepers. We came to the edge of space to build something new, something better. When the raiders came, we had every reason to be afraid. But we had something more important than fear. We had each other." Admiral Webb watched the colonists who had gathered to hear the broadcast. Their faces showed pride, sadness for what they had lost, and hope for what they could still build. "The Void Hunters told us we were alone," Jake said. "They told us no one cared about a small colony so far from home. They were wrong about that too. Earth remembered us. The fleet came for us. They came because that's what humans do. We don't abandon our own." The broadcast was being picked up by communication stations throughout human space. On colony worlds, mining platforms, research stations, and trading posts, people stopped what they were doing to listen to the words of a man who had faced the darkness and won. "But this isn't just about New Haven," Jake continued, his voice growing stronger. "This is about what we are as a species. When someone threatens our families, our homes, our way of life, we stand up and fight. We don't do it because we're the strongest or the smartest. We do it because it's right." Admiral Webb stepped forward and took his own microphone. "This is Admiral Marcus Webb of the Earth Defense Fleet. The attack on New Haven Colony was not an isolated incident. The Void Hunters and other raider groups have been systematically targeting human settlements for months." The Admiral's voice carried the weight of military authority, but also something deeper, the promise of protection that stretched across the vast emptiness of space. "Let me be clear to anyone listening, human or alien. The age of isolated colonies and easy targets is over. The Earth Defense Fleet is expanding its operations to every sector of human space. We are building bases, deploying fleets, and establishing patrol routes that will cover every settlement, every mining operation, every research station, and every trade route. In the background, Jake could hear the sounds of construction as Earth engineers worked to build New Haven's new defense systems. The colony would never again face an enemy alone. To the colonies listening to this broadcast, Admiral Webb continued, help is coming. To the raiders and pirates who have been preying on our people, your time is over. To the alien governments watching our expansion, understand this. We are not conquerors, but we are protectors. Threaten our people and you will face the full might of humanity united. Jake took the microphone one final time. This is New Haven. Colony signing off. We're still here, we're still strong, and we're not going anywhere. The transmission ended, but its effects would ripple across the galaxy for years to come. The message was simple but powerful. Humanity would no longer be victims. They had shown what they could do when pushed to the edge, and now they were pushing back. In the days that followed, responses began arriving from colonies throughout human space. Messages of hope, requests for aid, and reports of renewed resistance against raider attacks. The spark lit at New Haven was spreading. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity stopped running and started fighting back. 6 months after the Battle of New Haven, Captain Jake Stone stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Earth Defense Force station orbiting the colony. Through the reinforced windows, he could see the planet below transformed from a vulnerable outpost into a thriving hub of human activity. The mining operations had expanded dramatically, with new safety protocols and defensive systems protecting every worksite. Transport ships arrived daily, bringing supplies, new colonists, and news from across human space. The small community of 2,000 had grown to over 5,000, and more were coming every week. Impressive, isn't it? Admiral Webb's voice came from behind him. The Admiral had returned to oversee the completion of the defense station and to check on the colony's progress. Sometimes I can't believe how much has changed, Jake replied. 6 months ago we were alone and desperate. Now look at us. Through the window they could see the massive guns of the defense platform, slowly rotating through their patrol cycles. These weren't the crude mining lasers and improvised weapons that had once protected New Haven. These were military-grade, planetary defense systems capable of destroying entire fleets. The change isn't just here, Admiral Webb said. Your message reached every corner of human space. Do you know what's happened since then? Jake shook his head. He had been busy helping to rebuild and expand the colony, working closely with the engineers and military personnel who had made New Haven into a fortress. 17 new defense stations have been constructed, Admiral Webb continued. The Earth Defense Fleet has tripled in size. Colony militias have been established on 43 worlds, all trained and equipped to defend themselves. And the raiders, well, let's just say they're having a much harder time finding easy targets. Admiral Webb activated a holographic display that showed the current state of human space. Blue dots marked defended colonies. Green lines showed patrol routes, and red X's marked recent victories against raider groups. The Void Hunters tried to attack the mining colony at Kepler Station last month, Admiral Webb explained. They found 3 Earth destroyers waiting for them. The battle lasted 8 minutes. No human casualties. Jake studied the display with amazement. The scattered, vulnerable colonies of 6 months ago had been transformed into a network of mutually supporting defensive positions. Supply lines connected every settlement, communication networks kept everyone in contact, and rapid response fleets could reach any threatened location within days instead of weeks. What about the other alien species? Jake asked. How are they reacting to all this expansion? Admiral Webb's expression grew serious. Some are concerned about our military buildup. They're calling it aggressive expansion. Others are impressed by what we've accomplished and want to establish formal diplomatic relations. A few are openly hostile. The Admiral touched the display, zooming in on a sector near the galactic core. The hegemony, that's the closest thing to a galactic government, has demanded that humanity limit its military presence to designated zones. They claim we're disrupting the balance of power. Jake laughed, though there was no humor in it. Balance of power? Where was this galactic government when the Void Hunters were slaughtering our colonies? That's exactly what our diplomats told them, Admiral Webb replied. The response was interesting. It turns out the hegemony has been dealing with raider problems for centuries. They consider it a normal part of galactic life. Acceptable losses, they call it. Acceptable losses, Jake repeated. Tell that to the families who lost everything. Admiral Webb nodded. The galaxy is learning that humans don't accept losses that can be prevented. We don't abandon our people, and we don't consider any life expendable. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the steady stream of ships moving between the planet and the station. Each vessel represented human determination, the refusal to be victims in a hostile universe. What's next? Jake asked. Next, we keep building. More colonies, more defenses, more ships, but also more schools, more hospitals, more places where humans can live and thrive without fear. Admiral Webb paused. We're also going to start helping other species deal with their raider problems. Turns out the galaxy has been waiting for someone to stand up to these predators. Jake smiled as he watched a group of children from the colony arriving for a tour of the space station. They looked up at the massive defensive systems with wonder and excitement, not fear. They would grow up in a universe where humanity was strong enough to protect its own. The raiders wanted to teach us that we were weak and alone, Jake said. Instead, they taught us how strong we could be when we worked together. Admiral Webb clasped Jake's shoulder. They believed help would never come. They were wrong about that. But more importantly, they were wrong about us. We're not the same species that scattered across the galaxy looking for new homes. We're the species that came back to save them. Outside, the stars no longer looked cold and distant. They looked like destinations, places where humanity would build, grow, and stand ready to defend what they had created. The age of isolation was over. The age of unity had begun.